Welcome to this short video on Scaffolder on how to add exclusions to your days of hire without changing date ranges. Exclusions are days that should not be charged for within the hire period or duration, such as Sundays, certain public holidays, and certain project requirements that demand a brief pause. So in this video, I want to show you how to raise an order to hire out a scaffold or a set of scaffolds, and then how to exclude certain days from within the hire period. So to do this, open the interface, like you can see, the scaffold manager interface. Move to the hire out scaffold. So please note that we have 700 total scaffolds owned in this example, and the number of scaffolds that have been hired out already are 100. So that means those that are available for hire are 600, as you can see. Okay, so we are going to hire out, let's say, like 50 scaffolds, and then we extend them, and within that hire period, then we will also remove exclusions or days of hire. So to do this, click on hire out scaffold. That launches the hire form. Then move to the, so you can see the hire number, the transaction date. You can type in a name for the client. So let's say you could say something like Diamond Real Estate. So this is an institutional client, so the ID could be something like their company registration number, let's say 2011. Okay, then you could put in the number of the person. These are not real numbers, so it doesn't matter. Let's say location is Kitengela. This person wants to hire, say, 30 scaffolds, and the start date would be August 1st to, let's say, August 15th. Okay, now notice one thing: the total due is not calculated until you fix the rate. So let's say we are going to hire these scaffolds at 200. So you can see the total fee is now 54,000. Hiring 30 scaffolds for, would this be like 9 days or 10 days? 9 days, because that is 9 by 30, which is 2,700, and then you multiply that by 200, the rate per day per scaffold, that comes to 54,000. Of course, you can set the amount paid. Let's say this client decides to pay something like 30,000, so there will be a balance of 24,000 here. Then we can put the custodian, who is the person responsible on the scaffolder side for managing this hire. So for the remarks, you could say, let's say, the balance of payment will be guaranteed by the custodian. Now, since we know that probably between this hire period, August 1st and August 10th, there could be a day or two in between there when we don't want to charge the client, so there is this option to exclude days. You can just select yes to enable this, then click on this, exclude days. It will give you a days of hire exclusion, and then you can specify the total number of periods to exclude from the hire period. Now this will recalculate this total amount owed, hence saving you the hassle of doing it yourself, and also it will retain the start date and the end date. So this will not be reduced by one, let's say, to August 9th. It will still be August 10th, but between these two dates, there's, let's say, 1 day excluded. So that 1 day would be 30 steps by 200 shillings, which is 6,000. So we should see 6,000 removed from this, and this should come down to 48,000. Okay, so exclude days, and there you go. Then now you can create the order, and once that's done, you can see that the form is automatically populated. You can see how many days now instead of 10. or I mean instead of 9 we are down to 8 days which are charged between this date 1st and 10th. That's the amount, that's the rate. Then we have the balance there. 30,000 was paid, 18,000. Then of course now we have got other things that can be declared. You can download this for signing and sending to the client and filing. Okay. Good. So now let's move on to extend hire and also exclude days of hire within those days of extended hire. But first, please note that now you can see still the total scaffold owned is 700. Then we have got the 30 that were added to the 100. Of course, we've captured the amounts added onto this. We'll see that a few minutes from now. The balance was captured, so 18,000 was added here, 30,000 was added here, and then we have got now available for hire was 600. Now it's less by 30 to 70. Then we have this customer here. You can see the record. So you can see from 1st to 10th of August, scaffolds hired out are 30 and still 0 returned in. I'm showing you this so that when we do the extension, we'll be able to understand how these numbers change. So you can see further details concerning this order. That is the ID of this institutional client. This is the contact number for the person. Then you've got the number of days, the rate. Now this 48,000 is the final figure that was agreed upon or calculated based on the exclusions. It was 54, then exclude 1 day for these 200 scaffolds. That came down to 48,000. The client paid 30,000 as deposit, or when they were taking out the scaffolds, so they still owe 18,000. And you can see that the status of this is actually a new hire but with partial payment. And you have the comments there and the rest of the details. So now I want to extend this order and also include another day exclusion so that you can see how these records are updated. We did download the application, so we've reset this form. So let's go back and extend. Now to extend an order, you use this function called browse records. Okay. Now we know that the higher number for this record is let's just confirm so that we can search by that. It's the last record, so the higher number is this HN08. So you just go to browse record and search by that HN. You retrieve, this is the record. You can see the details, 30 steps, 0 in. Days of hire is actually 8. Expected revenue is 48,000, and then you have got all these other details. This is the payment. There's a balance of 18,000. 30,000 was paid, and you can see here that this was a new hire partial payment. So we want to extend this hire for an extra number of days. So let's say, for example, we want to extend it from 10th of August to 20th of August, but with 1 day excluded in between there. So to do that, you go to action options. Then you will see the option to settle the balance pertaining to this specific hire period, or you can extend the hire from August 10th to let's say August 20th with one exclusion. If you do not settle the balance, that is not a problem. The amount owed will still remain on this record, even though that hire has been closed, as we will see shortly. So let's extend the hire. So this is the form for the hire with all the fields auto-populated from the previous record. So you can see the extension. The higher number is actually, it's the higher number for the previous record with the prefix E1. So it means the first extension for this hire. Okay, and then we are extending all the scaffolds, all the 30. Let's say to a different location. We can say Kimalat. Now this is auto-populated because this is the last day of the previous hire period. You can see here there's a provision for excluding the days. So let's say we are going up to 20th of August. We're still charging 200. So now it's coming to 60,000. We want to exclude. Let's say if we exclude 1 day, this will be down to 54 because it is 6,000 out. Yeah. So let's exclude 1 day. Exclude this. So you see it's down to 54,000. So let's say the client decides to pay still 30,000. Now I want you to notice that this amount will apply specifically to this extension. So the balance that was still owed to the previous hire period will still be reflected in your records, even though that record will be closed, because we are assuming the period ended and now we are within the extension period. Okay, so here in the remarks you can always say 1 day was excluded from the hire period. Maybe you can specify Sunday for rest or something like that. Okay, and just say extend hire. Okay, so it's been successfully extended, and you can see there. So it's 54,000, 30,000 was paid, 24,000 balance is now 9 days instead of 10. And you can, of course, you can download that application form for signing, so to show you where it is stored. So this application pre-filled will be stored on that path. You can always retrieve that record. We'll look at it in a different video. So now here you can see total scaffold hired out are still 130, because the 30 were merely extended at a different location. They were not taken out from the current available pool at the yard. So we still have 570 available for hire. But remember, this was 20, so the extended scaffolds are now 20 plus 30, which is 50. What I wanted you to see was this new record. So notice this old record. This is the old HN08, HN E1, HN008. So what we have here is different statuses. So this one is assumed returned, but there's still a balance pending, okay, of 18,000. This is the same scaffolds which have been extended here. So you will see it's extended, but balance is pending. And then you can be able to see the remarks. 1 day was excluded from the hire period. And this is the record. So you can see that if you say returned, this one is automatically closed. So this was 0, so it was closed so that you could extend the same set of scaffolds on a different site. Yeah, and that about covers it. Okay. Good. So now we've seen that excluding certain days of hire from the hire period can be beneficial, especially if you have got many orders or many hires in different locations, and you need to track which hire periods have exclusions, which do not have, how many days are those, and which ones have been factored into the calculations. So it's very important to have this function automated, which is what we've done in this on the platform. And this matters because it will help your clients to trust you more, because you're not just trying to max out on their bill, but you are also being considerate on the days when they're not using the scaffolds. Then also your business will have cleaner reports where usage and billing days match, and you have the records as to which days have been excluded from the calculations. You will also be able to, your team will avoid the manual back and forth trying to explain gaps. For example, you saw that hire for 54,000 come down to 48,000. If you don't capture that information, or maybe you're doing this manually, then somebody would think that you undercharged, or probably you did not include some information that was critical for the calculation, and that will create confusion. Then you can also make extensions smoother, because even those that get adjusted with exclusions have provisions for exclusions within the hire period. So this days of exclusions was important for us to share with you, so that you understand that with this scaffolder, it can also apply to real life situations where you have got certain days where you don't charge the client, but you don't necessarily take the scaffolds out of their site. Then the scaffolds are extended, or they continue being used in that same site. Instead of closing one hire period and extending it, probably that day that is excluded is just 1 day. You can just do a full hire period range, and then you exclude specific days within that range for one record. Okay, thank you.